doing, and we simply followed them. And while his warning turned out to be true, I've really enjoyed that aspect of computing, right? That you have to, the field has evolved so much that you've had to continue learning. And I would again convey the same message that don't think of this degree as kind of completion of your education. It's only starting. But I feel very fortunate to have been, again, associated with this field and kind of get that degree from an IIT. And likewise, I really know that your IIT education in computer science is going to lay a very, very solid foundation for your life and career ahead. So let's talk a little bit about what that could be. And ultimately, look, you have to make your own decisions, right, about your life. I'll just share a few maybe ideas that hopefully maybe provoke some thought. And my basic kind of advice, basic message, if there's one message I would want you to take away from at least what I want to share is, look at your life in the, like from a long-term perspective of what you want your life and career to be. Don't optimize for the short term. And I'm sure you have all taken courses, right? And you know the difference between finding those local minima and the global minima, right? So how do you optimize? So likewise, I mean, just like there is that emphasis on algorithms that let you do global optimizations, I think it's very important for you to likewise apply that optimization, right, globally to your life. And I'll share three maybe points of advice with respect to how to optimize, right, for the long term. My first advice would be ambitious. Don't be timid. Don't be afraid of failures, because sometimes it's that focus on short term that drives us towards these kind of behaviors, including things like, I mean, the immediate thing, right, that often students do, right, is, okay, who's the employer giving me the maximum pay package and so on, right? And that's the prestigious thing to do. I mean, even if, because that's what will bring prestige and so on, right? In the eyes of your classmates, your family and so on. So often, right, blindly we pursue, okay, let's go and pursue whatever job is paying me the highest salary. And I'll say the good news is that you don't really need to care. Even if you cared about money, I'll tell you, the nice, fortunate thing, right, about being a computer scientist is that the amount of money you can earn in your lifetime, I mean, what you'll earn in the next 2 years, right, doesn't even matter to how much you can really earn, if you really wanted to, right, if you really care about even earning. But so the first thing, the message that I wanted to share was, like, be bold. Don't be kind of just driven by some short-term success. So let me frame it in terms of a researcher, because that's the career that I have pursued. But I believe the same advice holds true regardless of what path you pursue. And I'll later offer some argument for why I think it generalizes beyond just a research career. But talking just first about research career, right, from my own perspective, a lot of times what we do as researchers is we pick problems based on what we believe we would be able to solve. So if I pick this problem and I know I have expertise in that area, I know I'll be able to write my next paper, or if I'm working for a company, I know I'll be able to, whatever, implement that next product feature and claim that kind of impact on the company, and therefore, right, get a nice performance evaluation in my next cycle. And I think if you keep, I mean, doing that once in a while is fine, but if you're always in that mode, you're missing out on something much bigger. Because if, on the other hand, every once in a while, I would highly recommend that you kind of step back and think about what are the problems really worth solving. Not the problems that I can solve, that I believe I can solve, but what are the problems that are really worth solving. And the problems worth solving are those that would really change the world in some significant manner if those problems are solved. And yes, many of these problems are very, very hard. And often they look kind of beyond your capability. But if you take on those kind of problems, I can assure you, and if you get into a habit of every once in a while taking on such ambitious problems, then you're likely to do much better than if you were going for that very sure shot kind of incremental path. Because even if everything else fails, the amount of learning that happens when you pursue these really, really ambitious problems is much higher. Because often, I mean, you're forced to go out of your comfort zone. You need also, like, you need to go very deep into your discipline so that you have a better chance of becoming the world's top-most expert in that area when you're working on some really, really hard problem. Likewise, you need to collaborate with people from other disciplines, adjacent fields, and so on, and that rubs off on you. So if nothing else goes well, the amount of learning that happens from working on these ambitious problems is really very, very useful. And beyond that, even if you fail at the original problem, chances are you will end up making good progress on some adjacent research problem, and you will still end up having much higher impact than if you had not even aimed very high, right? If you had just kind of stay content with, okay, my next incremental piece of work, my next paper, and so on. And of course, if you get lucky, like I remember we got lucky with BlueGene. I mean, when we started working on it, it just sounded like a foolhardy project. Oh, building the world's fastest supercomputer, making your parallel software run on over 100,000 processors, and so on. It looked like no way we were going to work. This was going to work. But when it actually worked, the kind of satisfaction you get when if you succeed, right, somehow, it is far higher than what you get out of a series of incremental kind of contributions. And I would argue, even outside research, I think similar thing holds. I mean, you can see that reflected in startups, right? I mean, pursuing a startup, for instance, right? And it's nice to see so many now students pursuing startups right after college or very soon after whatever you have been in the industry.